So you talk about four tests to communicate, to make sure that it's effective. Can you weave those four tests into the story?
Absolutely. And the four tests start with, can you communicate? Do you have the physical ability to get the information from A to B?
Okay.
And the answer is often we can't. We don't have the phone number. We don't have connections. In this particular case, you have the two decision makers brought face to face with the recipient. So the reality is the first test, they could physically pass the information.
Okay.
The second is, will you pass it? And you say, well, of course you will. No. How many times you've been in an organization where somebody won't pass information, either because information is power or because they don't know who else needs the information? They're not familiar with that, or they're busy. There are all kinds of mundane reasons why we choose not to pass information to the next place. Well, in this particular case, you've got the two decision makers. They are willing to pass the information, but I put an asterisk on that because they're willing to pass the information as they understand it. So with their inherent biases in it, but they are still willing to tell the president. Mm-hmm. They didn't tell him, Mr. President, there are 10 steps that could be at less than 35% because they hadn't thought of it that way.
Right.
And then there's a third test. And the third test is the information accurate and timely and relevant? So is it the right information? Now, I would argue in this particular case, they probably failed because while the information was what they believed to be true, in fact, the information was undoubtedly flawed because it didn't contain the complexity and the risks inherent in many of the factors, so that the president got information that said, oh, okay, he got 85%. They believed it was true.
Not to interrupt you, but you write later on about the importance of technology, in making risk decisions. And here, when you think about these decisions being made, this was in 1979, 1980, the lack of intelligence, the lack of technology, you're right. People were making decisions really halfway in the dark.
Probably 3/4 of the way. That's right. And then the final test, and I think we failed number 3, but even so, we go to number 4 and we say, does the receiver, the recipient, have the ability to understand it? If you pass information to me and it's in a language I don't understand, or it's complex in an area that I don't have expertise, it really doesn't mean to me what you want it to when you send it.